Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is a Rice News analyst, Emmanuel Ifeni. Great Malabite, good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Abati.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Oseni.
Morning, sir.
Good morning, Ms. Victoria Tundo MK Abiola.
Good morning, Mr. Ifeni.
Yes. Let's start today's review with this day, Nigeria's newspaper of record. Now, the lead story concerns Mount as court injunctions. Others threaten nation's democracy, ruling for sale to highest bidder. Yes, the increasing meddlesome intervention of the judiciary in almost every stratum of the political turf is fast threatening the nation's hard-earned democracy and becoming a source of concern to stakeholders, especially as the country moves closer to 2023 elections. Yes, you spoke about this earlier. It is quite worrisome. The rate at which politicians shop for, obtain, scavenge for injunctions, interim injunctions from all over the country. And PDP seem to have taken it to a different height over the last 1 week. Shopping for injunction in Port Harcourt, in Kebbi, in Calabar. I don't know where next they will be looking for another injunction. Over this fate of Uche Secondus, the embattled, the suspended or standing aside chairman of the PDP. But lawyers should be advised to mind their profession. Judges who dish out these injunctions must also learn to live above board, as Abati put it, like Caesar's wife. But unfortunately, no matter the homily we deliver this morning, no matter the advice or the criticism, I'm sure this matter will continue to see more of injunctions from different courts. Yes, the lawyers make money, so if that is what will bring succor to their clients, they will definitely go for that. Perhaps we should hear from the Nigerian Bar Association on this matter, looking for money at all costs at the expense of the reputation of the profession. The NJC, or the Chief Justice of Nigeria, also need to wade into this matter. But the threat to our democracy as we march towards 2023 is what should worry Nigerians right now over this spate of injunctions. And as this day rightly puts it, rulings for sale to the highest bidder. And we know there are pecuniary motives behind the delivery of some of this injunction. Tundu, I know you'll be worried as a lawyer.
I truly am. And yes, it's not too far-fetched. I don't think it's slanderous or defamatory in any way to suggest that these injunctions are not given gratis. That's highly doubtful. So I think you're in order to make that speculation here. It's a complete disgrace, frankly. I said so earlier.
Now, Ruben, I know you spoke on this before. Maybe you want to just say something on this before we move to other stories. Ruben Arufai.
Well, I already commented at length on it. The only thing to add is that, both the judex and also lawyers have a responsibility to abide by the highest standards of professionalism and to sustain the best traditions and ethics of the profession. Because when lawyers engage in forum shopping, even when they know that as officers in the temple of justice, they are not supposed to manipulate the process, then of course it shows clearly that they are placing personal interests above the collective interests of the country. I think this was a point made by Chief Afe Babalola, SAN, in one of his essays on this particular issue, that this amounts to placing personal interest over collective interest. Now, that personal interest may be in form of gratification, may be in form of ambulance chasing, lawyers who engage in ambulance chasing just for profit. And I said earlier that there must be some kind of sanction for that kind of misconduct. And of course, there's need for greater education, enlightenment, and also for the judiciary, to be constantly reminded by the appropriate bodies that, as judges, they must be impartial unto death. That's the expression. As Kayode Esho, Justice Kayode Esho of blessed memory put it.
Rufa, you won't blame the lawyers too much if that's what brings succor to their clients. They are in practice to deliver to their clients.
I mean, I'm not going to blame the lawyers too much. I'm going to blame the politicians and our democracy. And maybe I'll give the excuse that it's just starting. We're just 20 years in this experiment. Because if a political party, is a combination of people that have got like ideas, they might have divergence at some point, but they have like ideas. And all the political parties claim they have internal dispute resolution mechanism. You wonder, so where's the internal dispute resolution mechanism? And they have their constitution that they abide by. Then you wonder, why can't they settle things internally? Why is it that they need to shop around for court cases and the likes? Why do they need to play these games? And if our democracy is truly developing the way it should develop, why should the emphasis be on the chairman of the political party? Really? I make bold to ask, can you tell me the chairman of the Republican Party in America or the Democratic Party? You probably might not know because he's not of importance. But here is not the case. We lobby, we fight over everything because of our own selfish interest. And people say they're in the same political party. And they can file injunctions here and there and counter injunctions and go daggers drawn. And when you even look at it critically, the dramatis personae in this case are people for the same states. So you ask, where's the missing link here? Because I don't get it. Because one day we are saying we have internal dispute resolution mechanism and we've activated it. And the next day you are seeing cases in court. Politicians, tell me more.
Yeah, personal ego, personal interest. When you say people from the same state battling over the chairmanship of the PDP. Now let's look at one other story in the front page of this day. Insecurity. State police is the way to go. Masari insists. Says Katsina always training people to defend themselves. Reiterates stand on call to worries. State is policed by less than 3,000 officers. Insist open grazing is causing trouble. You should tell the president that. Open grazing is causing trouble. That's the governor of the president's home state. Now, Masari calling for state police. Well, he's still insisting on his citizens to arm themselves, but I will just take the grain and leave the chaff in this matter. His call for state police, I think, is spot on, because right now, Nigeria is under police. The central policing we are doing, taking orders from one command at the center, is not working well. We should try something else. And state policing has the potential to deal with the security situation in the country. So, on that, I am with Masari, but on call for citizens to arm themselves, he is on his own in that matter. Now, let's look at other stories. Daily Trust newspaper, still on PDP 2023. PDP to cede presidency to the north. Zone chairmanship to the south. Oyinlola, Jegede, George, Makarafi, others in race for party chair. If they have zoned this chairmanship to the south, as this paper is saying, what is Makarafi doing on that list, you will ask. Now, presidential contenders push for own party candidates. Will zone presidency at right time. Spokesperson for the PDP. Perhaps that story is still speculative. Now, the Nigerian Express newspaper making its appearance on our table this morning. 2023, PDP wobbles on. Secondus fate still hangs. Akinwumi takes over in acting capacity. Yes, Akinwumi took over briefly, handed back to Secondus after the Kebbi injunction, and now Akinwumi is back as acting chairman. Now, the New Telegraph newspaper, Southeast AP 2023, Southeast APC chieftains float pressure group for presidency, say lack of trust, latent fear, others holding zone down politically. Yes, the quest for a president of Southeast extraction, of Igbo extraction, if you will, on. And of course, groups are putting pressure or going about business quietly. But we'll see how the parties deal with the issue of Igbo presidency, which is hot potato for some parties, if you will. Now, the Punch newspaper, 21-day notice, strike dangerous now. Federal government begs doctors. NMA ministry disagree. NMA force federal government as minister rejects ultimatum. Citizens' lives under threat. Ehanire laments, the minister of health, lamenting there. Yes, with no solution to the strike by the National Association of Resident Doctors, the Nigerian Medical Association, the umbrella body of all doctors in Nigeria, now giving the government 21-day ultimatum to sort out this matter, or they will escalate the matter. When they do, who will suffer? Is it the federal government or the ordinary Nigerians who use public hospitals? Government officials, they know where to go. They fly abroad, Dubai, London, America, India, to take care of their health. Now, the Guardian newspaper.
Ifene,
yes.
Maybe before you take the next paper, we'll take a short break. And then when we return, newspaper review will continue. Stay with us. Welcome back to the morning show here on the Arise News channel. Arise News analyst Emmanuel Ifene is still here with us, reviewing top stories in today's newspapers from around the world. Great Malabai.
Yes, Ruben, we're looking at Nigeria's The Guardian newspaper. The lead story: despite approvals, absence of port scanners cost government 800 billion naira monthly. Customs says scanners purchased en route Nigeria. Some importers exploiting gap to under-declare consignment, smuggle contraband. Now, let me just read the first paragraph, and you see how we undo ourselves in this country. Despite multiple claims and approvals by the Federal Executive Council for the purchase of cargo scanners for the nation's port, there appears to be no end to the long suffering of importers and businesses as the ports continue to depend on laborious manual inspection. I don't want to say only in Nigeria. Maybe there are some other countries that we rank with when it comes to doing things shabbily. But again, despite all the approvals, who is following things up? You know, sometimes when you say, oh, it was approved by the Federal Executive Council, when some of us question, you say, no, once it has appeared on that sheet, it is as good as done. This is a case where approvals from the Federal Executive Council translates to nothing on ground. Now, the Daily Independent newspaper, travel at risk as vandalism of airport's critical equipment spikes. What will some Nigerians not do? There's palpable fear about safe flying in Nigeria as vandals have continued to sabotage critical safety equipment across the nation's airports and stations. The other day, it was railway tracks they were removing. Now, they are looking at airport equipment, but we should be able to secure our airports. There can be no excuse for vandals entering the airport premises with all the perimeter fencing to vandalize equipment. Now, the Abuja INQUIRER newspaper, FCTA resettlement plan, natives up in arms, Yes, any future attempt to settle indigenous inhabitants of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, to squatters' camp may face stiff resistance as the natives are insisting that they are insisting on their integration into the Abuja master plan. They cannot be in some camps. They have to be part of somewhere. And I'm sure the authorities will look into their concerns. Now, if we just look at the Daily Sun newspaper, quickly, the Daily Sun newspaper, statement on non-proscription of bandits, presidency under fire, Afenifere Ohaneze, Middle Belt Group, others describe government's reason untenable, strange, leave IPOB, ESN alone, save students from bandits in North, Anglican Bishop chair federal government. We have asked that why are you still calling some people bandits when their acts are clearly all the hallmarks of terrorists all over the world, shooting down aircraft of the Nigerian Air Force, attacking military formations. You still call them bandits? They are not terrorists? Well, let's just look at the foreign newspapers quickly. The Guardian newspaper of UK, Taliban say they will allow more departures as US strikes Kabul. World leaders told foreign nationals will be able to leave country. Yes, Boris Johnson and other world leaders have received assurances from the Taliban that foreign nationals and those with authorization to flee will be free to leave the country amid escalating tensions. Now, also on the front page of the Guardian newspaper of UK, now, Lee Perry, music icon, reggae icon, dies at 85. Yes, the musician producer who made Bob Marley world famous. Like Perry, like Uwaifo, we also lost a music legend, professor of sculpture, intellectual in his own right, the Joromi King, Sir Victor Uwaifo. He also passed away over the weekend at the age of 80.
Peter Boy.
Yes. You remember that, Ruben Abati. But he was also an intellectual, and he lived a fulfilled life. Lee Perry, of course, the reggae icon, Jamaican, who made Bob Marley world famous artist, also passed away. When they get to 80, they are at the departure lounge, as it were. Ruben Rufai and Tundu, over to you.
I want to talk about Governor Bello Masari. I'm quite concerned about the figures that he cited, that there are 3,000 police officers in Katsina State. Katsina State has a population of 5.8 million. So that is pretty dire. That is one police officer to over 1,000 people. That's worse, a lot worse than the national average, which we've all complained about, which is one police officer to 540 people. So if that is actually accurate, I can now see why he's telling people to take up arms, although I continue to vehemently disagree with that. As I've said before, according to Hamlet, taking up arms against the sea of trouble is to effectively commit suicide, because your average person, take me for example, if you gave me an AK-47, which you can't, it's illegal in this country, I wouldn't know what to do with it. I wouldn't know the top or tail. It reminds me of the NRA, the National Rifle Association in America, saying that the end to gun violence in schools is to have teachers arm themselves. And you think of all the preposterous positions to take. A teacher is already busy enough doing the duties of a teacher, what they were trained to do, then you now expect them to be sauntering around with the Kalashnikov or whatever. So I completely disagree, as you do, with that aspect of his statement. But it is actually extremely alarming that there are 3,000 police officers for a population of 5.8 people.
Quickly, Ifeni, I always like it when you bring up stories relating to health from the papers from the UK. I think you missed out one this morning.
That of Daily Mail?
No, front page of the Times, talking about how if you replace salt substitute that is low in sodium and maybe higher in potassium that will have been mixed with it, how that can reduce the risk of stroke and heart attack by about 14%. And this is based on an experiment that was carried out by a group of researchers led by Professor Mio. and the result is published in the New England Journal of Medicine. And the hope is that, the government should intervene and make sure that all supermarkets in the UK no longer sell salt on the shelves, but salt as substitutes. And I guess maybe in the future, when that comes on stream, that should be something that should be of interest to us also here in Nigeria, where oftentimes when you buy from all these fast food joints, the amount of salt that they put in the food, oftentimes I've had to throw the food away. But again, we don't have consumer protection at that level here in Nigeria. In some other countries, maybe there is a standard in terms of how much salt that you can consume. And the research was also talking about, taking salt substitute can result in lower blood pressure and prevent you from having hypertension. I know you like to discuss such topics because you've talked in the past about obesity and all of that. There are two stories of interest in this day. First, the story saying this day saved Imo from burning, says state government. And that story is on page 8. And this was the case of some people publishing fake digital front page edition of this day.
Try to clone this day, but
when I saw that, I was shocked. The last time we had that kind of challenge, I guess, was under General Abacha, when newspapers like Temple, like PM News were being fake editions were being circulated inside Nigeria. So does that tell us anything about the state of politics in the country today?
That's some desperate persons trying to play on that.
And finally, the editorial of this day today, I think is very important. The editorial commends the Nigerian government in terms of how we have so far managed COVID-19. And the peg for it, the departure point for that editorial, is the commendation disclosure that Nigeria is rated by the WHO as number 4 in terms of good management of COVID protocols in the world. And I think that is truly commendable. But the editorial also says we need to do more, and indeed we have to do more. And I like the closing paragraphs referring to the resident doctor strike and how government must resolve that as quickly as possible. And how, again, the rating is an indication that we can do a lot more. Now that we have the third wave, and yet the big problem with the third wave is that Nigerians are more or less COVID fatigue. All the Miliki joints are fully packed every weekend.
All right, so for me, I'll start with commiserations to the family of Victor Waifo and Nigerians in general. We lost an icon, we lost a legend. May his soul continue to rest. I had the chance to meet him once. A very impactful man in society. So second story I'd like to talk about quickly is this story making the rounds about this shopping for injunctions and the need to be careful. We've talked about it, and we should equally talk about it. And thirdly, vandals at the airport. I think that's on its front page of the Daily Independent. It is quite scary that vandals are damaging everything in this country, damaging rail tracks, damaging just everything, airport infrastructure. And if this continues, then you wonder what is left. So please, everything should be done to prevent, the vandals from damaging. Please, it's really important. And on the foreign scene, America has been dragged into something they didn't envisage. They had to have another drone strike yesterday. And they started throwing bombs in Kabul. And once that starts, it's not going to stop. They said they were targeting ISIS-K. They said some civilians were injured.
Children were killed.
So America will not leave Afghanistan anytime soon. And only time will tell.
Well, they will have to find a way and end this, because that has always been the goal for the Trump administration, which the Biden administration also accepted. So one way or the other, they just have to find a way to end the adventure, Kabul.
Misadventure.
Okay, thank you very much, Manuel Efene. As for vandalism, there is an agency, the Civil Defense. Part of its mandate is to help protect public infrastructure. I hope that that agency will be better empowered to be able to deliver on that aspect of its mandate in Nigeria.